So a lot of what I was going to say is that has been very efficiently, very effectively flagged up by Caroline. So I want to talk about, I'm going to put a use case to you and see what you think about it. And then talk just a little bit about the BBC's our own approach to it. So could we just, before we play, could you, So this was sent to me. Okay, this was sent to me by an editor. We visualise a lot of our radio content. We put cameras in front of our radio content to create clips for social media and the like. This was sent to me by the editor of a radio programme called The Media Show. It's ironically a programme that looks at trends and issues in and around the media. And he asked me what I thought about it. And in a minute, I'm going to ask you guys what you think about it. So be prepared. If you look carefully, if you could just play the video. Look carefully at the
Hello and welcome. This week we're unpicking the news that OpenAI and Meta are reported to have made a giant leap with their AI tools. They're about to unveil bots that reason. We've got the journalist who broke the story to help us understand what it all means.
We're also going to focus on Donald Trump's social media platform, Truth.
Hello and welcome. This week.
Okay, so you can see that the AI over here changed the eye line, so she was looking down the camera. And here is her reading her script. Now, we had a very interesting conversation over the dinner table the other day about this as well, where I asked my family what they thought about it. My son, who is a 22-year-old, just started in PR and crisis communications. His view was it didn't materially alter the meaning of what was said and done, not a problem. His 22-year-old cousin, who's a lawyer, took the view that it's okay to fool the audience as long as they don't know they're being fooled. She's a lawyer, what can you do? My sister-in-law, who's an academic, said, well, it depends on the context, I need to know a little bit more, let me have a think about it. My wife, who is a teacher, she teaches 10, 11-year-old children, said, it's not what happened, you shouldn't do it. So, what do you think? Does it not materially distort the meaning and okay? Or it's not what happened and it's not okay? Those who think it's okay to do it, put your hand up. You think it's okay to do it? Yeah? Anybody else think it's okay to do it? Because it's not materially affecting the... So this is a current affairs program. Yeah? Yeah? Absolutely, okay. So does everybody else agree that because it's not what happened, we shouldn't do that? Everybody else agree? You all agree? Yeah. You all agree with my wife? Excellent. I always agree with my wife. So the point is this is happening all the time. As Carol said, this is happening all the time. And working out what we do and how we deal with it is really key. So this is the fundamental principle, the way that we deal with AI. Do not materially mislead audiences. And it depends, exactly as you say, it depends on context. If it was a comedy show or a drama, it wouldn't matter. But it's news and it didn't happen, it does matter. So the context is really, really important. And that reflects how we deal with AI as well. So we've kind of got a three-pillar approach at the BBC. We've got a kind of an overall strategic mission, which is that we want to use AI sensibly and responsibly. We don't want to betray the trust of our audiences. We'd use it in line with our editorial values. But we want to use AI for its efficiency and its creativity. The second pillar is a governance pillar, where we We look at training and accountability. We also, crucially look at the information security issues and the legal issues. Who owns the output from an AI? It depends on the terms and conditions of the AI. How secure is the information that you put into that AI? We've got a conversation going on about the use of translation tools, where we've got a part of the BBC using a model, an online translation model. And that's fine because they're translating content from within the BBC. They're translating content, it's journalism that's already been created, that's fine. But we've got another part of the BBC who are doing investigative journalism, and they're investigating difficult parts of the world like China and India and Russia, where if they put their content into an online translation tool, that could then get leaked. So they want to use a different tool that is offline, and they're using it on their own computers. So thinking about the legal, the data protection, the competitive issues around the use of AI, really, really, really important. And the final pillar is how we use it from an editorial standards point of view. And the way that we think about it is echoing a lot of what Carol said. Is we just sort of divide it up into kind of three broad categories. Whether we use AI to directly create content, and in a use environment, we absolutely don't. We absolutely will we don't, and I cannot see the situation where we will use AI to create content. That gets more complicated as you go, because sometimes sometimes when, for example, you're using Adobe Photoshop has functionality that is now AI driven that you could do before the existence of AI, and they're doing and sometimes functionality is being moved from old-fashioned CGI or digital techniques into an AI environment, but it's doing exactly the same thing. Discuss. So in news, we don't directly create content. That's the first bucket. The second bucket is use it to aid and support the editorial process. So that might be in translation or transcription tools, or to investigate, again, as Carol said, to help your investigations by analysing data, and where we might use Gen AI to help us with that. And the third bucket that we think about is using it for curation or aggregation of our content, particularly through things like recommendation engines, which are all AI driven, and the way that we want our content on our own platforms to be recommended to our audience differs vastly, massively, overwhelmingly to the way YouTube recommend their content or Amazon recommend their content. So we thinking about how we use that. But AI, old-fashioned AI, has already been used in recommendation engines, much less Gen AI. A couple of other quick points, and then I'll finish. Where are the audience on this? The audience. We've done a lot of audience research on this, and where the audience are, I think, informs how we go about things. The audience, our research suggests that our audiences expect us to be using AI, but they are in a situation where they are slightly uncomfortable about the use of AI unless and until there's human involvement in that area, just as Carol said. They're sort of driven by the kind of the Hollywood idea of AI taking over our world, and are in what we describe in English, I don't know how you translate this into Armenian, what we describe in English as uncanny valley. And they're unsure about what that means. So the idea of having what we call a human in the loop is really, really key. And that human in the loop needs to be part of the process, but also needs to be accountable for the process. Again, what we're really, really clear about at the BBC is making sure that whoever's the editor has accountability and responsibility for any decision over the use of AI, and knows that they are. So if anything is published that is problematic caused by AI, it's not the machine's fault. You're the editor, it's your fault. And knowing that knowing that they've got that accountability is really, really key. So dealing with where the audiences are, I think, is really, really key, and that plays into the transparency point. What does good transparency around AI look like? And that, again, is a really evolving situation, and it's really, really challenging, because if we tell the audience every single time we use AI, they're going to be completely freaked out about it, one, and two, they don't need to know, and they don't necessarily want to know. So how and when do we tell our audience? How and when are we transparent about our use of AI? And we're sort of moving into this idea of direct and indirect transparency. So the direct transparency would be where we think it's appropriate to label specific pieces of content as being created with the assistance of, or possibly even more, generated by or edited with AI. And that would be pegged to a particular piece of content. Or an indirect model where we might write a kind of a terms and conditions document that would be published somewhere on the BBC that would say, we reserve the right to use AI in certain circumstances that we may not necessarily tell you about each time we use it, but we will do it according to our editorial values and our principles around it. So that's kind of where we're moving to when it comes to transparency. But this is still a massively moving environment. There is no case law, and Carol's building the plane as it goes. We're making it up as we go along, but we're making it up as we go along with a very clear and very strong framework. And hopefully that's given some idea of how we approach what we do in AI.